Our guest today is Randolph W. Brown, a U.S. Army combat veteran from Vietnam. Randy, welcome.
Thanks, Tony.
As a young man of about 20 years old, newlywed,
Yes.
and with a brand new job.
I was working as an architect at an architectural firm. I
And-
wasn't an architect yet, but I was studying. I was
Right.
their understudy. So.
And you already were an artist
Yes.
and musician
Yes.
professionally.
Yes.
And then you received your draft notice.
I sat in the bathtub and I cried. And then when my wife came in, sat on the toilet, I showed her the notice. I said, I may not see you for a while. My home, the new beginning of my life as an adult, you know, coming out of high school, having fresh opportunities for advancement in a career that I chose, to have that thrown out and said, oh no, here, give us that guitar, you can't have this anymore now. You take this gun, take this weapon, go and learn this, all under threat of imprisonment if I didn't do that. 68 I was drafted in late December 68, and by 1970 I was in Vietnam. My base camp was in Long Binh, right on Highway 1, right near Saigon. But I spent 11 out of 14 months up in the central Cambodian border, the highlands up there, all the hardwood forests, and I ran convoy support with the Quad 50s, an airstrip called Song Bay, S-O-N-G-B-E, Song Bay, and it was an Air Force strip that had one long runway, and on either side of that runway were black 55-gallon barrels with orange stripes on it. 3, 4, 5, 6 thick, 2, 3 high, just lining that whole airstrip. What they used where I was something that had a white stripe on it, which from what I understand, it was many, many times more carcinogenic and deadly than the Agent Orange. Agent Orange, as I tell people, Agent Orange got all the press, but Agent White did all the killing.
And then when you were released from service at the end of your term,
yes,
no one diagnosed any problems from this toxic exposure.
No, I was, they asked me a couple times about some, little wounds that I had on my face that were slow in healing, and I was so anxious to get back home, I didn't think much of it. I said, oh, they'll heal up fine. What is this? I said, well, just some scratches, I got burns I got, I really wanted to go home. I didn't want to stay there and be a guinea pig and, well, let's find out about this and find out about that.
The signs and symptoms you had are called sarcoma.
Well, soft tissue sarcomas. I didn't know what they were. Myself, I just knew they were lumps that never went away. They would reduce in their size in the winter months, but then when the summer months would come out, when it was warm, they would grow again. So I was pretty perplexed with it, and after a while felt pretty embarrassed to the point of not wanting to be around people.
How did you handle that? Through self-surgery?
I had to. I had already gone to the Veterans Administration with the issue, with the problem, and they couldn't offer me anything other than don't eat so much cheese. Let me backtrack and say I went to 3 other physicians and told them my problem, and I had to be honest with them and tell them, yes, I have been exposed. That's what I think it may be from. These were areas that were mosquito bites in some areas that just got this stuff in it and just swelled up and never got better. I met a man once who said, you can take these out if you're not squeamish and you have a strong tolerance to pain. To do that, you couldn't use any anesthesia. If you were to use anesthesia, you'd never be able to know differentiate between the living tissue or the dead tissue. So opening the tissue up with the fingers to expose the tumor, and then take the sterile probe and put it in and pull it to the surface. So once it was closer to the surface, and you're blotting it with the blood, you're blotting it with a rag, because it does bleed, then you can take the tweezers and pull them out. And I used high-power glasses and a magnifying mirror, basically a magnifying mirror that would show me in detail what I was dealing with, I'd never done any surgery before, but I didn't know what else to do.
In the last segment, we talked a little bit about the Vietnam service you endured and some of your physical problems.
Yep.
And then now we can mention that also you suffered from undiagnosed PTSD, post-traumatic stress disorder.
Right.
And that you've been using art, music, and your religious faith for self-therapy.
That's my medicine.
Healing.
Yeah. I've been able to employ the giftings that I had in my life from a young man in my art to make a living for myself, you know, to earn a living, which I'm grateful. I've known a lot of people who are out with the cardboard signs that say we'll work for food, and I was there once, but I did a real nice job painting the lettering on the cardboard sign, and someone said, "Who did your lettering for you? Do you paint signs?" I said, "Yeah, I can paint signs."
Let's show and tell some of your artwork with the audience.
This is a piece from, this is actually at the El Cajon Council, the Chamber Council where the mayor sits. This is it has a lot of glare on it, but that's actually all of El Cajon Valley. This is a excerpt from a series of murals at a place called D.Z. Aikens.
Well, you also do sculptures and landscape design.
Sculptures and landscape design, Anything I can do with my hands. Man was meant to create. That's what these are for, to create, not to destroy. And when I was locked into the remembrance of my past, using these for machine guns and for grenades and all that kind of stuff, they only wore away my ability to be the person I'm meant to become, which is a creator, working with my God to create beauty in this life and not to destroy. So when I came back from Vietnam, I was in serious need, and I prayed, and God answered my prayer in a pretty amazing way, which I'll share a song later for that. Maybe I can do it right now. It's called "Filled with His Presence." All alone I looked around, to the sky then to the ground, but I couldn't find him. I looked without, I looked within, recalling places I had been, still I couldn't find him. Then on the road to all alone, I knew somehow I must atone for words and deeds my tears could not erase. That is when I found him. That is when I found my Savior's grace.